Welcome to this workshop on equality in research and innovation, from data to action. We have a really exciting session today with a lot of wonderful speakers. We're going to be highlighting a very new cutting-edge research report called She Figures 2021. So please be on the lookout for that coming up very soon in the next few weeks. We're also going to be highlighting the incredible journeys of a group of women scientists who are at different stages of their careers. And they're going to be discussing everything from their ambitions to the challenges they've experienced and what we really need as a society and as organizations to move this agenda forward. And you, the audience, are going to have a key role to play in this session because we need you to engage with us in this process. What does that mean? Well, we're going to be opening a question and answer format for you guys in this session to give you the chance to ask us, the participants, the experts, what we think about these critical issues. So it's going to be a really exciting session. I'm pleased and honored to be part of this, and I want to introduce briefly our speakers. And so we're going to start with Michaela. Michaela, could you tell us just briefly who you are, what you work on, and who is your ultimate female role model?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. First of all, I'm very happy to be here with all these accomplished other women in the panel and be able to exchange ideas and opinions. I'm a PhD student. I started my PhD last year here in Leuven in Belgium. And what we do is plasma physics with different applications. So for example, we're looking at very high-speed aerodynamics, which you have to take into account when you're, for example, designing space missions such as Space Shuttle. And we're also looking at solar physics. So we're trying to model the solar atmosphere and see how the sun behaves and protect ourselves that way as well. And my ultimate female role model, I think Maria Curie.
Oh, that's amazing. I actually benefited from a Marie Curie fellowship at the early stage of my career. So I owe her a huge debt of gratitude as well. And I was actually just taking notes what you were saying about aerospace because it's so interesting and so exciting to hear from very different perspectives than the areas in science that I've come up in. So thank you so much, Michaela. That's really beautiful words. And we'll turn now to Rebecca. Rebecca, if you could give us a brief intro, who you are, what you do, and who is your ultimate female role model?
Yeah, so I'm an associate professor at the University of Twente in the Netherlands. I work on solar energy and in more particular in improving the efficiency of solar cells by inventing new what we call light management schemes. I also co-founded a startup, ETC Solar. And yeah, talking about my ultimate role models, I was very fortunate to have a lot of role models during my life, starting with my own mother, who's also a scientist, a chemist, in fact. If I had to pick one now, I think I would choose Mildred Dresselhaus. For those of you who don't know her, professor from the US, for a long time she was at MIT. And I was very fortunate, unfortunately she recently passed away, but I was very fortunate to meet her when I was a student myself, a master's student myself at a conference. And it was such an inspiring meeting and so inspiring to hear from her and what's driving her. That was a great moment. And so I really appreciate that I got to meet her in person.
That's amazing. And thank you for bringing that up to help raise awareness about these underrepresented superheroes of science. So I appreciate you saying that, Rebecca. And I'm really excited about your research. This is game-changing stuff, and I can't wait to see, where your career takes you in the future. Last but certainly not least, we have Yuta. And I believe she is online now. Oh, she had a little bit of trouble connecting.
No, I am in. Hi, Anthony.
I'm so glad you're here. Beautiful. Who are you, Yuta? What do you like to work on? And tell us who your ultimate female role model is.
Well, I'm the president of the Social Science Institute here in Berlin. I'm also a professor of sociology at both the Humboldt University and the Technical and Free University. I'm an honorary doctorate from Tampere in Finland. I'm a member of many academies, and it's a big joy to come into my office day by day, do my research, communicating, helping people to prosper. What are my big role models? I had the pleasure to study in the US, and there it was rather Beth Kanter and the Descartes Paul, but also, you know, males like David Reisman and Daniel Bell, who truly supported me and didn't make any difference between men and women who tried to graduate there.
Absolutely amazing, and it warms my heart to hear how many people have helped and supported you along your career, because where you stand now is strong and powerful, and I admire everything that you are doing. So thank you so much, Jutta. We're going to be bringing all of our panelists back in a few minutes to get some questions and answers about their lives and their experiences. So you'll be seeing all of them very, very soon. In the meantime, this is our chance, this is your chance to engage with this process and ask us or answer some questions that we have for you. So we have a short quiz that we want everybody in the audience to take. They should be very easy questions, but we'll see how challenged you are. We have just a short battery. There are 4 different questions, and they should be appearing on the screen momentarily. Yes. So first question, what's the percentage of women among doctoral graduates? And it looks like 27% is in the lead. Oh boy, a lot of guesses for 48% now is taking the lead. Absolutely incredible. I'm not going to give away what the correct answer is yet. There is research that shows that the more people try to guess an answer, the closer to the correct answer we end up getting. And it looks like 48% is winning. Excellent, excellent. And that is the correct answer. So well done, you. Next question we're going to jump into is, in which research and innovation field is the gender gap among doctoral graduates the largest? And your options are A, health and welfare studies, B, engineering, manufacturing, and construction, C, information and communications technologies, D, natural sciences, mathematics, and statistics. And it looks like engineering is the top contender. However, the correct answer is information and communications technologies. Okay, surprising result there. Number 3, what's the percentage of women occupying top academic positions in the EU? And this is grade A professor. Is it 54%, 12%, 34%, or 26%? People are registering their votes now. Looks like 26% is coming out in the lead, and 26% is the correct answer. So well done, you. We will now turn to the last question. For every 10 patent applications held by men, women hold A1, B3, C5, or D7. It's like 1 is in the lead so far. And yes, 1 is the correct answer. So well done, audience. You got all 3 out of the 4 questions right. That's a passing grade in my book. So very, very, very well done. We're going to move on now. We have a very special guest who has just joined us, Jean-Eric. He is going to be speaking on the She Figures 2021 research report, which is where those quiz questions came from. So you have a chance to hear from the person himself, Jean-Eric. Jean-Eric, the floor is yours. Please regale us.
Anthony, hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Sorry to be a bit late. I was in a European Research Area session on stage. So yes, I mean, let's put up the first slide, but you just guessed with your collective intelligence the correct question. The number of PhD women graduates is indeed 48.1%. So this is really where we are at near parity, and that I think is a good outcome. Well, I don't see the slides, but I trust that you do. You also already covered the grade A positions, the second slide, where women here are underrepresented. And if you look at the slide, you will see that yeah, the next one. If you look at the slide, you will see that as you move up from grade D to grade A, the gender gap becomes even greater. No, it's the one before. Yeah, exactly. Huh? So 47, all good, and then 46, and then eroding quite a bit at B grade, and then really very, very big drop at A grade. There, of course, a number of probably time or age-related reasons to it, but that is really an outcome which is not what we want, and I think this is a major point of attention. As is, if we move to the next slide, the position of women in decision-making positions. Less than a quarter of higher education institutions are led by women. So here also, I mean, there has been progress, but not enough. Then we also have more women than men in precarious contracts. I mean, this seems like a small difference, but in fact is quite significant as well. 9% of women are declared to be in their precarious contracts, 70.7% of men. And if I look then at the research funding success rate, here again, women are less successful, 3.9%. I mean, funders everywhere, I mean, certainly in Europe, including the European Commission, the European Research Council, and others are looking at biases maybe on their side. So that, of course, is something which we as funders are working on and need to be working on. I think in research institutions, there's, I think, certainly also a case to be made to provide more support to applicants generally, but as this is being done, to look at maybe the way women are preparing applications certainly should be reviewed to help here, notably on language, because there is no reason that there is here a gender gap. There is no reason that the quality of the research proposed is of a different nature. And if I then move to the next slide, which is women in technical professions, you had it also in the Slido. It's indeed in science and engineering and IT that we here again only have a quarter of women. I mean, I'm sure the audience knows very well that this is particularly problematic as digital is becoming so pervasive, that algorithms are driving a lot of human activity, and that these algorithms are developed for 73 quarters by men is frankly for me a real concern. I mean, no one should be comfortable with that, and so I think attracting more women in these professions is absolutely critical for society. And if I then move to the last slide on inventors, I mean, this is probably the most appalling of all. We have only 10% of European patent applications come from women. So I think this also needs to be seriously investigated to see the reason for it, and ensure that we also start to make a dent on that appalling proportion and figure. We will have a presentation on a scheme called EU Women in, or Women in EU Tech, or EU Women in Tech, where the European Innovation Council is trying to progressively, and I think the pilot possibly successfully, make a real difference also there. So these are the key figures of a report which will be published after the summer in October. So they are provisional. What I have not presented here, and that's my last point, is whether there is a trend which is going in the right or wrong direction. I'm saying this because we have a lot of evidence, and I'm sure we'll discuss it now, on the fact that the pandemic has eroded the progress made for gender balance in many respects. I mean, the precarious contracts, I think, maybe are an indicator of that as well. So how much this now translates already in statistical hard data in October is for me not yet clear. But I think we should also discuss that and be aware of that erosion and continue to deal with it. The Commission, as you know, is particularly demanding and ambition on gender, but also diversity. And I think you all know, but allow me to say it once more, I never miss an opportunity, that under Horizon Europe, any institution, public institution, intending to be funded under the program will have to have a gender equality plan in place. I mean, essentially by the middle of next year. I mean, if you're in a call which closes in 22, you have until contract signature to have your gender equality plan in place. So there's a bit of time to work on it. And I'm always surprised by the rather large number of institutions which certainly do gender policies to an extent, but don't have a robust institutional framework yet. So we hope that with Horizon Europe making it a key condition, you will progress on that as well. Anthony, I stop here. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jean-Eric. I live in absolute admiration of the Commission's efforts in this regard to make a gender equality plan a requirement for institutions who are applying for public funding at the EU is a very strong and very bold move. And it's the kind of action we need to take forward if we're ever going to achieve gender parity, if we're ever going to get to a point where we can realize those 2030 sustainable development goals. So thank you very much for that. And thank you for highlighting all these important issues. Often these inequalities are invisible, and the She Figures report makes those inequalities visible. And once they become visible, now we can take action. Now we can actually do something. So mark your calendars, audience. Later on this year, that report will be published, and you'll have access to all the data and all the nuance to that data later on in the year. I just want to remind the audience that you have a chance now to talk to our panelists. You have a chance to ask them questions, query them on their experiences or their expertise, and we would love to hear from you. So Slido is the application we're using to get audience Q&A. You can enter those questions now, and we will get to them as soon as possible. I would now like to invite Michaela to answer a couple of questions about her experience in aerospace engineering and the work that she's been doing. So Michaela, if you could take the floor for a moment. There you are. I want to ask, first of all, and this is a tough question, so I'm really going to hold you kind of to the fire right off the bat. Have you at some point experienced discrimination or bias in your work as an engineer?
I can here really relate to the audience that was voting for engineering to be that field where this disparity is the largest. So in aerospace, you can feel your gender really, and this is not necessarily even the problem of the university where there's some work to be done. But for example, at the building where I was writing my master thesis, there were not even female toilets for the students. So this is how many females there really were, and it is really getting better every year. What I noticed is kind of this phenomenon. Many times when I started to work with men or younger, older, I could sometimes see some judgment in the beginning. I was even told by actually a professor at one point that my voice is too high pitched to sound serious. But then at some point when I start working with these people and we work together long term, all these differences go away. They realize that you're a person just like them, and I think this is really this is a matter of habit, because obviously these people, they can change their judgment. They're obviously open-minded. It will just take some time. And actually, when I was at my previous institution, a wonderful university, I have to say, there were a couple of instances, like for example the toilet, but usually minor inconveniences where I thought the school could do better. So once I graduated, I compiled all these comments and suggestions, and I sent a very long email to the dean of the faculty. And at first I wasn't sure if it's really a good idea, but he's a very busy person, and he still found the time. He read the entire email, he responded, and we had a very long, very productive call. And I think this just shows, obviously we need schemes, we need workshops, we need skill courses, etc. But sometimes it's just enough that the men up there in the hierarchy, they are willing to listen, they're open-minded, and they're such wonderful people who are conscious of the problem. And I know he has been working so hard to make this place a better spot for women as well. So maybe if I come back in 5 years or so, there will even be female toilets at my building.
I just think it's remarkable the efforts that you've put into that, because ultimately that's not your responsibility to take to try to find solutions for an institution that has the responsibility to be inclusive. So I just thank you for that effort, and I'm sure the people who've come after you really owe you a debt of gratitude. And on that more positive note, I would love to hear from you. What is your future like? Where are you going next with your career? It's so exciting to see what you've done, and I could imagine 1,000 different futures where you do even more incredible work.
Thank you very much. I truly love science. I must say that. If you asked me this question when I was 9 years old, when I started with science, I would, without a sign of doubt in my voice, say that I will be an academic. I will stay in academia. But this is getting more and more difficult to answer every single year, actually. And it's, for a person my age, I found, not just from my perspective, but also from friends who decided not to go to academia, it's a very risky decision to sign up for academia, really, because all you see from this perspective is just this endless ladder of PhDs and junior postdocs, senior postdocs, temporary research placements, until maybe in 15 to 20 years, you might eventually find a permanent position or a tenure track, and you're basically just signing yourself up for a future of uncertainty. And it is really draining. I still have 3 years of my contract, so in this way I'm lucky. But I can see some of my friends who are in the higher positions still on the ladder. It's just so draining for them, not just professionally, it is reducing the quality of their work, but also the quality of personal life. It's not just about comfort or convenience, really, that we don't want to travel, that we don't want to settle down, but you might want to have a baby, have a family at some point, or you just take care of a sick parent, right? And in that case, you really need a stable income and stable salary, stable job. So I don't know yet, really. Also, there is maybe a little problem I would shortly mention, which is not usually talked about. It's the mental part. It's not just the question when it comes, but it's also a question if we can even make it there, if there is space for us in academia. I think from the social science point of view, it is in a way very even impressive, really, that we managed to create this environment where so many young people feel so uncertain about themselves, so many well-educated, smart people feel so uncertain about their skills and doubt themselves constantly whether there's place for them. So this all adds up, and the motivation is not a renewable resource. You need to have the right supportive environment for that. For now, I have really wonderful supervisors who are helping me to understand that maybe research is my best destiny, but it is an open question. And I think this was a very long-winded answer. I'm sorry. I just think we should, it would be great if we would do science thanks to the academic system and not in spite of it. Thank you.
Those are powerful words, and again, I appreciate the contribution you've made to pave the way for scientists who will come after you. And I'm glad that you have an institutional support system that is doing its best to accommodate you. But the reality is we can all do better, and I think that is a challenge for the audience. It's a challenge for me. Do the work to make this place, to make our world a little bit more equal. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Michaela. We're going to turn now from Michaela, who is at the beginning stages of her career, to Rebecca, who is in the middle of her career, and we're going to hear from her. Rebecca, let's just start off with your career, your journey as an entrepreneur. What led you to create a deep tech company?
That's a very good question, because I actually never thought of myself as an entrepreneur. I always had that vision that I would be a scientist and I would have a genius idea. Of course, that was always my ambition, that would like make a real impact in the world. And I would have this idea, I would have an invention, I would come up with something, and someone else would pick it up and then, bring it into the world and actually make it powerful. And then I actually ended up having a good idea. And together with my team, we developed a very nice technology for solar cells, and we're very excited about it. And I thought, okay, now we have it patented, now a company will come in and we'll bring it to the market, we'll bring it into the world. And it turned out it wasn't that easy. So because it was a difficult idea, and someone really had to like dig into it and like really put in the effort to make it happen. So I and then at the same time I started mentoring a master student who himself thought of himself as an entrepreneur, and he was studying science just as a means in order to become an entrepreneur. And then this combination of these two characters, like on one hand, someone who wants to be an entrepreneur and not a scientist, on the other hand, scientist who doesn't want to be an entrepreneur, but we're working together, that actually made it so that I decided, okay, I will work with him and I will co-found the startup together with him. And yeah, that's how this journey started.
It's amazing, and it's also a good tale in terms of diverse teams. And as long as we're talking about diverse teams, why don't we hear your thoughts on the importance of creating a gender diverse workplace?
Yeah, I find it very important, not only gender diverse, I must say, I think diversity in general is very important because it gives you a lot of new insights into, different people think in different ways. That does not only apply to gender, also to people from different backgrounds in terms of countries where they come from, things like that. I think we should keep an eye out for that in general. And the reason why I do find it important is because different people have different approaches to problems, and the more different perspectives you have in a team, the more different and creative solutions you can come up with.
Absolutely. And the science shows unequivocally that diverse teams are more innovative and they can create more lasting solutions. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Your insights are absolutely incredible. And we're going to turn now from Rebecca, who's in the middle of her career, to Jutta, who is just achieved some amazing things throughout her life. And I'm really excited.
It's the end of my career, if you want to put it like this, Anthony.
Oh. So let's start off with a question about obstacles. So what were the biggest obstacles that you faced as a woman in your field and research?
Well, let me first relate back a little bit to Michaela, because this, of course, I experienced as well. I mean, the lacking toilets and things like this. But also, I was quite young when I received my first grade A position. And I actually was the first woman at the Ludwig Maximilians University in Munich who, while being a professor, became pregnant. And all my colleagues told me, oh, did you gain so much weight during the summer break? And the female students in particular were quite upset that I brought my little baby in the classroom, because I thought, well, I continue teaching because then they don't lose a term. Now, what are the biggest obstacles? When I now had a couple of really high leadership positions, and I still do have them, but with each transition, I had to regain trust. I had to regain respect. I had to show them that I know something, that I can manage. And by doing all that, I lost a lot of time and energy. And it took me 2 or 3 months always to get everybody behind me and make them work, or make this institution with 500, 600 people to go ahead. And this is something women indeed need. And I wonder how the she figures also can capture such cultural indicators, which seem to be particularly interesting and important as well for the integration of women.
Thank you. I think it's so important that what you highlighted here about issues of respect and trust, especially in diverse teams, are critical, but it shouldn't fall to women to do all the emotional labor of cultivating trust and respect within those teams. It's all of our responsibilities collectively in order to gain that kind of that power, that force
Absolutely.
that comes from diversity. I want to double down on this organizational culture issue that you alluded to. How important is this for bringing gender equality into practice?
Well, it is important because you usually are looking, I mean, if headhunters approach me over the last 20, 30 years, they ask me, well, did you already lead an institution with 2,000, 3,000 people? And of course I didn't. But of course I also felt that I'm ready to do so. So it's always that you have to prove that you already did something before you get a new offer. And this is, of course, not the most innovative drive you can possibly think about. And therefore I so much pronounce this trusting women, trusting and giving them the chance, and welcoming them, onboarding them. And probably it would be a very good idea to first invite women as a guest professor or whatever before making a final decision on both sides, actually, supporting them so much more in terms of dual career movements, supporting their families, and all of that. And it's not just a female issue. It's exactly as you said. I mean, it must be a prime principle of all of us, because it is towards an innovative science.
Absolutely. And one of the first things I do with my undergraduate students is call out the men to make sure that we're creating an inclusive space for everybody who's in this class. Thank you, Yuta. Your wisdom is incredible. Your insights are fantastic. And I think I've learned a lot and evolved a lot just in the last 5 minutes hearing you speak. We're going to go back now to our honored guest, the Director General, Jean-Eric. And I just want to get Jean-Eric's reflections on what he's heard about the experience of women here in Europe when it comes to their work in innovation.
Well, I mean, of course, I'm much encouraged by these personal stories. I mean, it shows it. I mean, it's happening. Huh? I think we should not paint an overly bleak picture. It's easy for no one. It's more difficult for women, which is not acceptable. But it's happening, and your three stories are really really great. Huh? And it was a real pleasure to listen to them, and also listen to your very candid analysis of what can and still needs to change. And Anthony, indeed, as I alluded earlier on, I think the real challenge is indeed on tech and on patents, on startups more generally, where the gap is the greatest, and which, again, beyond the gender and diversity agenda, and by the way, the argument on diverse teams applies to any human entity and not just in science. We need to do better everywhere, including, by the way, on policy making. And so, because you need these angles to make good policy, there's no doubt about that to me also. But I said it's for society. I think the real challenge is to have this diversity and gender balance in tech. This is, again, a major challenge for our societies as we move into a different future. And I think I don't want it to be a future dominated by the mental image of men. I think we need that shift fast. I mean, we are trying to contribute as we can with the instruments we have, and we don't have something as powerful as the gender equality plans yet, but we have nevertheless the European Innovation Council, which in its board, as you probably know, has a number of really powerful women entrepreneurs, which share, I think, similar stories, and they have really pushed during the pilot phase. The Commission, which was leading the EIC at the time, now it's an agency led by Jean-David Malo directly, to try to experiment. And what we have done is, in the call for proposals on the scaling up, we have promoted, with the agreement of member states, companies which were led by female entrepreneurs. Of course, at the last stage of the choice, then this can be only excellence and impact. But at the earlier stages, we were able to nudge more women-led companies into the final round. I was very pleased with that, and that has had impact already. We have now more proportionally women-led companies supported under the EIC accelerator. And what we now are putting in place is Women TechEU. Oh, so I got it wrong now. Women TechEU, which is a program which will offer first-class coaching and mentoring to female CEOs and founders. We hope to have there's a first call, which will now take place in July on the 13th, so watch that space. And out of the call, we want to retain 50 promising deep tech startups led by women, and we will then help them grow hands-on. I hope that this offer will be taken up. The EIC has also in its business acceleration services a women leadership program, with also, I mean, not to the same intensity, but also with coaching, mentoring, offering also business partners around the EIC project. So this is, I think, also relevant. And we have had now for already a while the EU Prize for Women Innovator, which showcases to everyone the ideas and the great ideas of women innovators. So that's the toolbox right now, pushed by Commissioner Maria Gabriel, I can tell you, and very much driven by Jean-David Malo and his teams.
And we owe her and you and all the great work being done at the European Innovation Council a huge debt of gratitude. So audience, do yourself a favor, bookmark the European Innovation Council's website. A lot of really cool stuff coming through in the next few months. And it's certainly something that can pay off for you personally if you can keep a tab on the work that they're doing, because they're directly supporting young women who are entrepreneurs, innovators, and who are in science and technology. Thank you, Jean-Eric. It's an absolute pleasure from personally. This is a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. I hope you have a great day. We're going to turn now to the audience Q&A over Slido, which is probably the most exciting and fun part of it because it's a little bit improvised. We don't know what questions are coming down the pipeline, so we'll see what you guys have in store for us. Looks like that first question up here is, what do you think is the key institutional measure to prevent the leaking pipeline effect in the postdoc phase of female researchers' career? So I think this would be a great question for Rebecca, because she's kind of at that stage in her career, just after that stage. So she might have some really keen insights on what we can do to plug that leaky pipeline. Rebecca, what are your thoughts here?
Actually, thanks a lot for posing this question. That's in fact something I really wanted to talk about, because yes, I just went through this process, and I think one thing that institutions can really do here is to offer dual career and child support. I mean, myself, I don't have a child, but I have a partner. And in fact, for many women, so I am very fortunate because I have a very supportive partner, and I was allowed to move across the ocean or across the Atlantic away from him and to start this position. But not every woman has that opportunity. Not every woman has a partner who supports her and says, go, I'll figure it out later. And I think institutions here can really support if they also offer then a position for the partner and make sure that the partner can also continue their personal career. And then, as I said, for women with children, I think it's very important that there's also the support there, that women can bring their children, that there's childcare, or that there's at least some, we just heard it previously, that there's at least no negative feedback if you bring your child to work sometimes as well.
Yeah, and that feedback can sometimes be so subtle and nuanced that we really need to hold ourselves accountable for how we're behaving in these environments. And I love that you pointed out this issue of partnership in kind of international research work. My partner is actually studying for her PhD in marine innovation at the University College Cork. I'm based here in Oslo, and we make it work. So I really applaud you and your partner as well, Rebecca, for making it work. It's amazing. We're going to turn now to a question about COVID, which I think is on everybody's mind. How has the COVID crisis affected your career? And what do you think researchers can do to mitigate those negative effects on women scientists? And I would love to hear from Michaela. Since you're early in your career, you probably have the most most to lose, most to gain. So Michaela, if I could hear from you, please.
For me, honestly, I didn't really have too many problems during the COVID crisis because I was just searching for my PhD. So maybe I think you could forward this to Jutta, because I don't think I can tell you too many experiences here.
No problem. We'll bring Jutta up. Jutta, let's hear what you have to say about the COVID crisis. How has it affected your career? And what do you think researchers can do to kind of mitigate these negative effects? Jutta, you are muted.
Thank you very much. I indeed did a lot of research in this topic. I just wrote a book about it. And what we see in quantitative data is that women considerably have less publications during the last 14 months, that they gave less presentation than men, that they decreased the third party money income because they got less funding, applications out. And that they lost track. And we also know that many women lost their vision of becoming a professor. This is probably the most detrimental thing of all of them. So they changed to science supportive jobs, and this is a pity for me, who trained lots of wonderful women, which I really thought they are making the change of the world in the next couple of years. So what needs to be done? In particular, we need to give them extra time, extra free time, sabbaticals, to get the work done, to get back to the desk without having to look for the children at the very same time. We need to take more care that the schools keep open, having now all this testing and all the vaccination and things like this. So just force all of us, men, women, politicians in particular, to help women to get back in track.
Thank you, Jutta. Again, such insightful and very wise comments there. I appreciate the time you took to write that book. I'm going to have to put it on my reading list on my Kindle so I can check that out. That's very exciting. I want to turn back now to Michaela, because I want to get her insights on the question about positive bias and tokenism. So
Yes.
Michaela, this is a really critical issue now, dealing with this concept of, whether it's a quota or this, positive bias. Can you reflect on that?
Yeah, this is a very, very tough topic. People always ask me, do you think there should be quotas or not? Especially, also in recruitment, also in applications to universities. And I remember when I was a bit younger, for one class of my previous institution, they did actually put quotas on girls. And obviously they increased the number of girls, but then many guys, the reactions of many male students was, oh, you're here just because of your girl. So it actually made the entire issue worse. And I found, because I was actually teaching some of the first year students, and I found that even they started adopting themselves whether they actually belong to the university, because they were admitted based on the quota. So this is a very big issue, which I don't know if there is a right answer to it. Maybe if we enforce it for long enough, it will become a normality, and eventually it will go away. But it is a very uncomfortable issue, both for the male researchers who might feel discriminated against, and also for the female researchers that feel to be maybe artificially placed to the environment where maybe they don't belong. And again, already combined with the effect where you're in general very uncertain about being in academia in your younger years, this can be very threatening. So I think there should be additional maybe workshops or courses on how to deal with this, and to ensure the female and the male participants that despite these quotas and despite these additional programs, the people getting there to these institutions are not less worthy.
Thank you, Michaela. I think you're absolutely right that it's such a challenge to kind of find that balance point where we're positively promoting and accommodating and supporting women who are coming into this field, and at the same time not creating new and different kinds of challenges.
Anthony.
So I appreciate your words. I appreciate your honesty and integrity. Thank you so much, and thank you to all of our panelists. You guys were absolutely amazing. I see there's so many questions that are left unanswered, and it breaks my heart. I would love to get through every one of those, and especially I saw came up an intersectionality question. So I think that we're going to have to leave some of them unanswered, but at least one of them about gender equality plans. There should be some links thrown up in the chat. So please take a look at those links. This is some really important resources and some references, and I think we can really learn from that. I'm going to give the floor once more to Jean-Eric, who is going to sign us off today in this wonderful event, and we will say goodbye. Jean-Eric.
Yeah, Anthony, thank you very much. No, I just wanted also to just react on this last question. I think that one dimension of positive bias is that it empowers women to apply. And then you have, great candidates, and that allows you then to pick the better candidate, which very, very often is a woman. You see that in management as well. So for myself, I'm rather comfortable with these signals where they need to be strong. Okay, now, Anthony, I don't have much to add to what was said, and I think you're right, there were very many questions. This is an ongoing process. We will in the Commission continue to engage because we need to get it right. You said we were really pushing the boundaries. We are trying, but we cannot push the boundaries alone. We need your intelligence. We need also your engagement, and therefore continue to interact with the Commission, with my teams. Mina Stareva particularly leading the team here in DG Research and Innovation. She needs you to get to the next level together. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jean-Eric. Thank you to all of our panelists, Rebecca, Michaela, Jutta. You guys are awesome. You're an inspiration to me, and I know you're an inspiration to our participants. Thank you, participants, for taking the time out of your day. It's the most valuable resource you have, so putting it into our hands shows a lot of trust and respect. All of our panelists and speakers are available online on social media, so you can hunt us down with our names in Google, and you will find us. Thank you all so much, and have a great day.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much for your cheerful moderation. Thanks.
Absolutely.